YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and everywhere else where you are watching. We're so happy to be together. And what an exciting day that we get to have. So let's take a breath because as we begin our time together today, we're going to have an amazing guest. And this is part of our Game Changer series. Okay. So if you've been listening along or watching along, you know that we are in the middle and this is going to continue. It's going to continue for 8 weeks. We are doing the Game Changer series. What does that mean? If just a little recap, if you're just jumping into the series, and then I'm going to bring up our incredible guest today, Dr. Shannon Irvine, and she's going to rock our worlds and help us learn an entirely new way you can think about changing the game for yourself in the coming year. But Game Changer is an inner identity, and it is a paradigm of showing up in the world as a powerful industry-changing, world-changing leader. So we start by changing the game that we're playing because we'll win any game we're playing. And if you've been playing a game this year that has not brought you the results you want, the opportunity, and you can listen to last episode, is to change the inner game that you're maybe unaware that you've been playing. How do we know what game we're playing? We look at our external results. We can look at our finances. We can look at relationships. We can look at our impact. We can look at our visibility. We can look at wherever it is, and we can find out some clues as to the game that we're playing by what is happening in the external world. And if there's something we don't like, the cool part is that, as our expert guests will share with us today, everything is revisable. Right? Everything is changeable. The game that we're playing, the narrative, the subconscious beliefs, the identity, everything is malleable. Everything is changeable. And so we get to change the game in us first, and then decide what game we're going to change for the people we're here to serve. What is that impact over in this next year that we're really called to make a difference, to take to a new level and change the game for the people that we're here to serve? And when we do those two things, changing the game we're playing ourselves, changing the game through the transformation we provide to others, the world's game changes, right? The world is a healthier, happier, more powerful, more unified place. And I think that's what everyone here who is part of this audience, this community, is looking to do. So I'm really excited to get right into our conversation with the amazing, incredible, brilliant Dr. Shannon Irvine. So we're going to bring Shannon up here, and we are going to get into a really exciting conversation. I've been wanting to do this for months. Shannon, thank you for being here.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. Margaret, Christy, Amy, Lisa, let's go. Like, who's ready to be a game changer in the room today? Like, I am motivated. Thank you, Sara, for just giving me a boost. Audrey, good to see you. Audrey's a friend of mine. Good to see you. Bob,
Yes.
Christina, Susan, Sophie, like Deb, you guys are showing up as leaders by being here. Karen, I'm going to challenge all of you that are on your cameras. I don't know how Sara is, but I know her really well because she's a really close friend of mine. So let's get the cameras on. Let's show up fully, even if we have, I always say, messy hair, don't care. But let's dive into creating 2025 in a game-changing way. Yes. So I want to get to know you who are on this call just for a couple of minutes. Tell me what the vision is. Because here's what I know. If you're in Sara's community, you want to be a thought leader. You want to change the world. You want to put your vision, the thing that you're, and I speak through my own lens. You be you, I'll be me, deal. So like, I believe God gave you a calling, and that is what you're walking out in your life, right? So whether you're just learning to be a thought leader from Sara, or you're learning to launch your own book from her, whichever stage you're in, I want to hear in the chat. I always say this is like the entrepreneur callback. Like I will change this training based on who is in the room and who is actively talking to me. So tell me what 2025, what's the big, epic, audacious goal? What are you wanting to see? If we were sitting here on this very day, 2025, and it went beyond what you could ever ask or imagine, tell me what happened. And I want you to do that in the chat, because we're going to dive into how do we make, as you're writing that down, and I want to just have 100% of you write that down in the chat for me. What if we could, instead of doing that in 365 days, what if we could do it in 67 days?
Okay, so as you guys are writing, I want you to think about your big, big goal. Here they start to come. They're coming in, and Shannon, you can read some of these out. Those of you that are on the social platforms, you can put them in the comments, and we'll go back and read them. Hey, listen, this is the game changer today. You got really lucky to come here today to listen to Shannon, because the game changer is Shannon is going to show us the paradigm, which
Yeah.
is a game changer. That's why I asked Shannon to be part of this series in very specifically, even though we can always learn. Shannon's going to give us a brain science-based paradigm to let us do that big, big goal for the next year in 67 days instead of 365.
Yeah.
How freaking exciting is that? How big of a game changer if you could do that big, huge, audacious, wild, phenomenal, epic goal in 67 days, first 67 days of the year versus, in 365. What else would be possible? Okay, Shan, let's see who we have in the room today in our
Well,
live audience.
I am, yeah, you look in the live audience, I'm looking here in Zoom and I'm seeing do my challenge, bring others into my practice, the vacation method, write my book, be the change, right? Publish the forthcoming book, publish author. Of course, I would expect a lot of that in this room, 100%. But why is it that some of us even don't write that down? Don't even declare what that is. And I will tell you by asking one more question, and then I'm going to dive into how do you actually train your brain to allow the results that you're after? Because this, my friends, is the secret sauce, is the game changer that you haven't actually had the steps to. You didn't learn it in school, right? But it is your best resource. You can't get more brain, even though all the biohackers are trying, and so am I. But you make decisions like how much money you're going to make with your brain, how you're going to spend your time. So the one thing that is the most valuable tool, how you're going to make your money and how you're going to spend your time, how you're going to create your impact, wouldn't you want to know how to operate it so that it works for you instead of against you? Now I'm seeing them fly in there. And, it just reminds me of one of my clients. Her name's Stacy, who, and tell me in the chat, I'm going to tell you Stacy's story, but just by length of time, how long have you wanted what you just wrote down or you thought and didn't write down? Has it been just a day or two, or has it been 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Tell me that in the chat. How long have you been thinking about this, dreaming about this, wanting to do this, thinking like, I really want this to get out to the world, right? I really want to put this out. And then you try and you dabble and you go forward and back. And it's like this really awkward dance, right? You try, right? Look at that. Some of you more than 10 years, more than 6 months, more than 10 years. So why is that? Why is it when I know strategically speaking, for those who are here on Zoom, you have the step-by-step. There's nobody I trust more than Sara to walk you through the step-by-step of getting published, the step-by-step of thought leadership. So then what gets in the way? What slows us down? What stops us? And it reminds me of Stacy. Stacy, I see you, Susan. I see you. This is the year for you, Susan. This is the year. Look at that, 25 years, more than 10 years. My heart is with you. Just like Stacy. Stacy is a stay-at-home mom for 10 years. She had 3 beautiful children, has 3 beautiful children, and she had always dreamed of becoming a coach. She thought, well, I've got all this experience, pre-kid experience, and I want to make a difference. I want to make an impact. We get to that point. Just write the word impact. If you're like, I'm not doing this just so that I can put a book on the shelf or just so that I could just tell you what I think. I really want to make impact. This is a legacy play, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Like this is the thing that we want to pass down to the next generation and the next generation and the next generation. And that was Stacy. She really wanted to be able to do this. So she tried to do a lot of free trainings when the kids were in nap time. And she was like on every free webinar and bought a lot of courses. Can I get an amen? Can I get a witness? I always say if the shelves were full of all the courses that I bought in pursuit of my 22-year dream, then before I learned this thing, right? So no, thank you, Susan. Thank you for saying that. So here's the thing. Stacy started to get so frustrated because she knew that she was called to something bigger and more. And she would try to do the right steps follow all the right strategy. And when one strategy wouldn't work, she'd hop to another. It must be that, because the marketing person out there told me that it must be that. But let me tell you, you have the right strategy if you're in Sara's room. The only thing missing for Stacy was that she had patterns that she grew up under that told her that money was the root of all evil. She had patterns that were running in the background that was like, she's like, I can't put myself out there because people might not like me. If this lands for any of you, if you felt anything that Stacy was feeling, I want you to say, oh my gosh, that's me too. What if I put it out there and no one wants it? Mm-hmm. Then what does it mean about me? And so we tread lightly, and Stacy was doing the safe steps. What she didn't know was that these patterns were not her fault. She did not create them. I want everybody to like put your hand right here on your forehead. This is your beautiful prefrontal cortex right behind your hands. This part of your brain is what allows you to create anything that you want in your life and create more than you can ever ask or imagine. It also is the part of your brain that calls BS on all the lies, the patterns, the issues, the patterns of the past, the family of the past, whether they were amazing, horrible, or somewhere in between. We can release that. We don't have to snorkel back there. Can I get an amen for that? Because here's the thing, those patterns, those repetition of patterns is what creates your belief about money, about worth, about enoughness, about how you spend your time, how much you are capping yourself on income, what you have potential to do. It's actually not something that you are stopping. It's the patterns that were created for between 0 and the age of 18, 19, 20 years old. So you're blaming yourself and hard on yourself and criticizing yourself. Stacy was so hard on herself. I literally on one coaching call said, give me the hammer, Stacy. Give me the hammer. I'm going to take the hammer out of your hand. No, I can say that because my husband said that to me at our wedding vows. I vowed to take the hammer out of your hand, Shannon. And I'm like, I got to pay that forward. Why? Because these patterns are your brain's way, although they don't work, although they're broken, and although you don't even know they're there. Here's what I need you to lean in and hear if you hear nothing else today. They're running 90% of your daily decisions, and therefore your actions, and therefore your results. Your brain's job is not to make you successful, as the vision board says. Your brain's job is to keep you safe and familiar, aligned with what is in the automation right now. But I have great news for you today. What Stacy learned was, once you become aware that that is governing how much you're able to create in the world, what you're able to make, how you're able to show up, how you're able to help people, your potential, your capacity, all of that, she became obsessed. She got certified through us and really went in and trained herself to do 2 things. And I want to talk about these 2 things today, because these 2 things are the only thing, write that in the chat, the only thing standing in your way. The step-by-step process, follow it like a recipe. Do what Sara says, and it will equal a result. Okay. So what has stopped you over time isn't even your fault. These are these patterns running, keeping you safe, keeping it familiar. And you've never been taught to either hear it, listen to it, start arguing it with this prefrontal cortex that is God-given way to develop what you want, and unleash your brain to work for you, to make safe what you wrote down in the very beginning of this call. Because when your brain sees the vision that you wrote down in the beginning of this call, your epic audacious goal, as safe, it goes to work 90% of the time in direct alignment with what you want. And you know this intuitively. Hasn't it felt a little bit like a tug of war? A step forward, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. What's in the way? That tension that you feel. Why do I play small when I want to play big? Why don't I put myself out there when it's what I know is going to work? And all this time, you thought it was you. It is how your brain works. So we've got to do two things. I see all of you, the only thing, because here's the thing. I come to you today with good news that like learning how to tap into how your brain allows a result and remove the blocks that have been in the way are the only two skills you need to make it all work. So you don't need to be a different person. Your identity is there. It's just buried underneath the patterns that protected you. So we got to do two things. And I'm going to be mindful of time because Sara knows I could go for like 2 hours and we could workshop this and we could do the whole thing. But I've got like 10 more minutes. So I'm going to talk high level about the two things that you must do if you want 2025 to be a game changer year. Okay. First of all, you need to train your thinking, your brain. Your brain is how you think, right? So your thoughts create emotions. I'm going to do a little micro teaching right now. Your thoughts, this is fully brain science. We can measure that the thought fire center of the brain fires before the emotional center of the brain. So that is peer-reviewed science, right? So wait a minute, Shannon, you mean my emotions, I shouldn't ride them out to try to get myself out there? No. So thoughts create emotions. Thoughts and emotions combine to become a belief. Now, when I'm saying belief, I'm not like the wooey out there, believe it and see it and achieve it. This is brain-based belief. This is how your brain hardwires what is now safe or not safe. Mm-hmm. And then your 90% of your capacity goes to work toward what is safe. So if thoughts and emotions combine to become a belief, guess where your identity is created from? That belief, that subconscious patterned belief. This is why when I was at just under 6 figures and I kept trying to get past 6 figures and I couldn't do it, no matter what I would do, 900 and 99,000 and change, and somehow I would bring it back down to just under. Why was that? Because when I was growing up, my dad and I and my family used to drive around the fancy neighborhoods, and my dad would say, on the backs of good people who make 6 figures or more. I didn't think much of it then. I was a kid. I had no filter to say, Dad, you're wrong. These are good people making change in the world. No, I didn't have that capacity. But yet that pattern was repeated so often around me that as soon as I came close to hitting 6 figures, my 2 highest values in the world is to serve deeply and to be a good person. So my brain was doing everything it could to make sure I did not hit 6 figures. Who just had like a mind-blowing experience? No pun intended. Okay. So we've got to truly learn the steps to unleash our brain to believe it. Okay. So that's step 1. Step 2, I want to tell you through a metaphor. So I want you to imagine, and I know everybody in this room is this way, and tell me in the chat if this is you. You're driven. Nobody has to motivate you. You're ready. You're going. You're in this room. So I know energetically you're taking steps. You're out there and you're doing things. You're driven. You're goal oriented. You want things. You're out there. You're putting your foot on the metaphorical gas all the time. Honestly, sometimes to the point of burnout and overwhelm. Right? Is that true? Is this you? Like, Sara doesn't have to come in the room and say, all right, guys, now let's get started. Like, you're already moving, going, learning, trying to obtain knowledge. Is that you? Correct? We're driven, right? So just write the word driven in the chat if that's you. You're going for it. Foot on the gas. Nobody's having to pick your foot up and put it on the gas pedal, right? Okay, see you. So I see you. It makes sense because that's what I expect from this room because of who you're hanging out with. But what if I told you that those patterns that we talked about are actually like an unknowing foot on the brake pedal at the exact same time? Now you're doing everything you can. You're driving, you're following the strategy, you're doing it. But if that foot, just tell me in the chat, if that foot is on the brake, metaphorically speaking, at the same time as the foot's on the gas, what is happening in your life, in your business? Just tell me in the chat. Usually I hear words like self-sabotage. I love that. I hope it's Alana. I hope I'm saying that right. Alana, good. Or zeros happening, Jade said. Sometimes we feel like, and tell me if you felt like this, spinning in circles, right? We feel like we're spinning in circles or we're on that hamster wheel, right? And this is what's going on for you. So it's equally as important as putting the foot on the gas or building a pathway in your brain to allow success. That's like creating the freeway so that we make what you want safe and familiar, so that 90% of your decisions, actions, and results go toward it. More important than even that, even though that's important, is to be able to remove your foot from the brake. Because tell me in the chat, if that brake pedal belief gets pulled off and there's nothing on that brake, what happens? How fast do you go? Tell me in the chat. This is the magic. 67-day year isn't some marketing ploy. This is how long it takes to shift your brain's synaptic pruning so that it believes what you want it to believe, and those old patterns are removed. And you can see, you can sense if those old patterns that keep you playing small, that keep you doubting yourself, that keep you procrastinating. By the way, we have what's called active procrastination. We don't actually procrastinate. We just go and do something over here that doesn't move the needle, that feels safer, like our kids' things or the laundry or whatever it is. We're in motion. We're not like, this is my procrastination. Like, we don't do that. Like, we're actively busy procrastinating, right? So yes, so you go really, really fast. So in order to gain speed towards success, we've got to do those two things. We've got to unlock or unleash the brake pedal beliefs. We've got to remove them from the automatic processing that's going on in your mind so they no longer drive you off the freeway of your goals, because they're the things that are taking the detour, taking it long, making it take long. And then we get to build a pathway of success in your brain so that your brain, that 90% power of your subconscious, has thoughts and emotions and beliefs that drive you toward what it is that you want. So we build the freeway, the new one that goes, and we destroy the old one so that it no longer takes you off course. And so that's how you really can create a game changer this year, is to get that 67-day results instead of 365 days. We want to remove those brake pedal beliefs. And the good news is it's such a simple step-by-step process. I always tell everybody, the doctor behind my name is desperate enough to go figure out my own glass ceiling. And in that time, I uncovered the fact that, yes, although this is your brain and it feels complicated, it's actually the most simple mechanism to tap into. Within 4 simple steps, those brake pedals are removed. Within a daily brain prime, that new freeway is built. And just let's wrap up with, if you knew that those brake pedal beliefs, those stories that are sabotaging you right now, were removed, and that your brain had a pathway toward the result, do you believe you could get there 10 times faster, 5 times faster? So now you know, it's not that you don't need strategies. You're in the right room with Sara for that. But here's the thing. Don't let another day go by just trying to use willpower, hustle, grind, and I'll just try to will it into existence when you're literally working against your number one competitive advantage, which is your brain's ability to create more money, more time, and the ability to do with it what you want, to create the freedom that you want, to be able to leave that legacy that we talked about in the very beginning, and to change the trajectory of your family's life forever. So that's what I have for you. I did it in under 30 minutes. I'm so proud.
Shannon, you are, can we give Shannon so much love? I have a couple quick follow-ups, Shannon, if we
let's
can
do it.
keep you for a few
Yes, I am open.
minutes here.
So I just wanted to honor the initial time.
Yes. So this is so exciting because, right, we're in, if you've just jumped on or you just started listening, we're in our series called Game Changer. What does it take to be a game-changing leader, to change the game that we're playing, to be the one we want to play, which is what Shannon just walked us through, the internal, an internal brain-based piece of. And I want to just affirm something. the year that I went to $1 million for the first time in my business, because we talked to someone in the chat was worried about glass ceilings, Alana, right? So it was like, that seemed like a fantasy. I knew I had subconscious resistance. I had conscious resistance. I didn't think I could. I didn't think I was worthy. I had conscious and subconscious going on. But here's the thing. When I made my number one focus that year on the belief changing, okay. So the game changing year happens when one of the crucial elements, we'll be covering all of them in this series, one of the absolute crucial elements and the very first one. That's why we're having Dr. Shannon on today. And we talked about the inner game last week. Like, it must start by changing at the level of belief. That's why you all that have trained with me in Thought Leader Academy, how many years have we done over and over and over? Why we've built this in to every single program we do is the brain science-based identity work. Where does identity come from? The beliefs, like Shannon's talking about, the new thoughts and the new emotions that lead in repetition to the new belief. And so when I made that my number one priority was the identity.
Yeah.
And Shannon's talking about it in the terms of beliefs. When I did the subconscious work as the priority, we had no way to go to 1 million. We had no plan. I was at 300K, stuck. Not that that's bad. It's just, there was a plateau.
Yeah.
And then we went to 1 million despite all odds. There was no strategy that made sense. I couldn't see it on the spreadsheet. We didn't have the numbers. I didn't do any ads. I didn't do anything that you're supposed to do. And it happened anyway. And it happened because of addressing what you're talking about here, Dr. Shannon. Some of you who are on today, you're mindset experts, this, but it was that years ago, and why it's baked into every single program we do is we work on the identity and beliefs first. So what I love, Dr. Shannon, thank you for coming in here and showing us, really parsing it out and explaining this isn't a law of attraction lens. This is a straight up science-based. There's two things to look at as you start to change the game going into the new year. The first is, that big goal that you've set. Do your beliefs, do your emotions line up with it? I called it, is the game you're playing, is it the one you want? If you don't already have that result, the answer is probably not yet. And the great thing is what we do is take the foot off that gas pedal. I love it. I love it, Dr. Shannon. So thank you for like giving us the metaphor. Who feels empowered by this metaphor of understanding that you've been going, go, 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 and stop, stop, stop at the same time, which has created either a plateau, frustration, what some of you in our live audience said. Does that help to have that visual? Because Jen, I love that you gave us, like, I'm going to be thinking about it. Am I on the gas and the brake at the same freaking time?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
And the next thing that comes up for people is like, okay, so how? Right. And if you're step-by-step people like me, like that's what led me to a PhD. Okay.
Right.
Like, what are the freaking steps to do this? Because we're driven, right? We're like, oh, that's why we're in this room. So we have a step-by-step breakdown where I'm going to be doing a training just like this, where I'm going to be talking about here are the steps to do that. So if that's something you're interested in, I'll pop the link down in.
Yes. So everybody that wants to do the work of these beliefs right there, you can get on the wait list for the 67-day year. Thank you, Shannon. I was going to ask for that, as I'm sure a lot of us will want to do this redismanage. Shannon and I are both teaching. January 13th is going to be your game changer week after the holidays. Okay. I encourage everyone to be in 67-day year and be in the game changer boot camp that we're doing. Get in, so you get both pieces. You get the brain science and you get what are the actions, then the aligned actions, the actions from the new identity on the superhighway. So you get the result in 67 days that you would otherwise get in a year or longer, frankly. Look at some of them, 10 years, 100 years. Shannon, is there any, as people go in, is there anything between now and when people start 67-day year training? Is there anything else you want to tell us to do as a homework? I love,
yes, 100%. Okay. Thank you for asking this. But by the way, I'm all in for the game changer boot camp as well. So
we're doing them both. We're doing them both.
Doing them both. Because think about that. If you have that, the strategy, everything you need from that, and you've actually trained your brain to allow the results, what would stop you? Nothing. Nothing. And so like and I'm going to answer your question, but make that decision. We have a thing in our community that it's a brain-based process called Decide in Advance, DIA for short. So I'm going to call you all Are you going to decide in advance to do those two things this year? Like this, like as soon as the holidays are over, you're in our care and we're doing those things together. If that's your decision in advance, then you decide right now, you put them on the calendar and you do not let anything get in the way, because it's literally the difference between that game changer year or not. But you asked me what they could be doing between now and then. So I talk about all of this on the Epic Success podcast. So my encouragement would be go into the Epic Success podcast and just search for anything related to 67-day year. You're going to start getting immersed in what are the steps? What are some of the things that I can do? How do I go faster? What's stopping me? And sometimes learning what's stopping you is the most powerful thing. And here's the reality. And I'm just going to be real without throwing anybody under the bus. I'm going to be real. You guys are smart people. So if you could already spot the blind spots that were stopping you, you would have moved them already. Is that true? Just write true in the chat. Like if you heard these patterns, you'd be like, excuse me, no, right? So if you can't see them, you've got to go through the process that the brain takes you through to reveal them and then remove them. And so the podcast is a great place to go and to be listening. We're going to be talking about a lot of that. And just make the decision in advance. That's the one thing I'm going to say to give yourself for the holidays, is to decide today. Don't wait till you feel like it, because the patterns of the past are creating your feelings. And so let's decide in advance. I am actually going to start this year training my brain to allow the results and removing those things that have been getting in the way. Let's start this year knowing I'm going to walk through the process that Sarah's taking me through and really apply. I'm not going to look left or right. I'm not going to go get distracted. I'm going to go all in. And when you have that all in mentality and you learn the micro skills, I always say, like, don't get out of the macro. Stop doing a million things out there. Get into the sniper mode. I got to change the subconscious thought processes so that I can get it. And I need the exact process with exact person. And so I know you're in the right hands with Sara for that. And so let's do that. And I appreciate you. And let's make 2025 that game changer year, because you're worth it. Your vision's worth it. Your family's worth it. The people that are waiting for you to step up and step on that stage, that will not hear the message from anyone else because it's you that was destined to give them that message, they're waiting. So let's do this.
Let's do this. Oh my gosh. We're going to just like, woo. I love when Shannon comes. It's like church. Okay, everyone. So your homework is we're going to listen to the podcast. Shannon, if you can drop your podcast link here for us. You've got your 2 trainings the week of January 13th. Shannon and I are going to be doing them all. Like they're you're going to, so 67-day year, the game changer edition of the best-selling book boot camp, which will be for any content creation and visibility you want to do for 2025. We've got Shannon's podcast link. We'll put this all for those of you on the social platforms. We'll put all these links there for you. And I'm so excited. We're going to decide in advance. Let's end with the word decide. Those of you who are on socials, put it in the comments. Those of you here in Zoom, in the chat, the word decide. We are deciding in advance to change the game, to have this be a game-changing year, and to change the game for the world. Yes, I want to feel the power of this room. We're deciding now, deciding in advance. It is so fun. Thank you, Dr. Shannon, for being with us, for giving us the step-by-step. And I'm a step-by-step girl, so I love, and look, if anyone tells me I can do my year big goal in 67 days versus 365, I'm there for it. So game on. Let's go, everybody. Well, we'll see you there. Bye.